And hello, welcome to episode 1 of the Shaney Show. I have a very special guest for the first episode. He is the leader of Sellout Sports, Nick Sargent, or Sarge. How you doing today?
What's going on, guys? I'm so happy to be here. Doing great.
I'm glad to hear it. We're going to be talking about Super Bowl Sunday that just passed. But before I get into that, I want to tell you guys, go check out his podcast with his boys. I've been on one episode of it, and I just love it. They're a good group of guys, so you gotta go check it out. It'll be the only thing linked in the description. So,
yeah, no, that's awesome.
No, yeah. And how do you feel about Brady winning his 7th?
I feel that he's the greatest football player of all time, and it sucks to say coming from a Giants fan, but you can't argue that a player with 7 Super Bowls, 5 Super Bowl MVPs, and the second quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl on 2 different teams is not the greatest of all time.
And he's the first quarterback, at least I believe, to win the Super Bowl MVP on 2 different teams, because Peyton Von Miller won on that year.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous, and nobody believed in him, and I don't really know how. This Chiefs team was very good, we all know it. Lost, 2 games this season, won the Super Bowl last year. But how do you bet against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl? I mean, the man's only lost 3 and 2 to Eli Manning, so I was betting on him, so I'm happy they won.
You just had to bring up that he lost 2 to Eli Manning. Like, shut up.
Of course I did, 2 times.
But, I was really happy from a Patriots fan standpoint. In the beginning, it did honestly feel like I was watching a Patriots game for a while because, they were down like 3-0. That's nothing, but still, everyone was like, because they had to punt in the beginning, and everyone was like, whoa. Now Patrick Mahomes gets it, and all they did was score a field goal, and then touchdown to Gronk. And then Chiefs do nothing, touchdown to Gronk. Like, I was like, wow. Like, Gronk really... I understand the argument for Tony Gonzalez, but he really is putting up an argument, especially if he keeps playing for greatest tight end of all time. I mean, four Super Bowls.
Yeah, right. He didn't have that much of a standout season this year. I mean, for Gronk, obviously, he's so consistent every year, but this year was okay. But then making it to the Super Bowl and getting 2 touchdowns, you can't argue that he's not up there at least.
No, yeah, and that's like the most Brady thing ever. Like, I mean, it's Gronk, everyone knows him, but it'll be someone really random to get a touchdown every year.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, for the Patriots, it'll be like Chris Hogan or something. I loved Hogan, but Chris Hogan's like a no-name to most people.
Not hated Hogan. Well, I just hated the Patriots, but for the Chiefs though, I on my podcast I called how this game was going to go. Them not having Eric Fisher and another offensive tackle, I'm blanking on his name. They could not protect Mahomes. He was doing everything he could. I mean, all those passes falling down were going viral all over whatever Instagram, Twitter, they were going viral, and he was doing whatever he can. And there were passes going off players' face masks consistently over and over again. And no one could catch a ball, and they couldn't run the ball. So really, it's hard to say that Mahomes had a bad game because even though his stats say so, you could tell how much he was fighting for it.
No, yeah, Patrick Mahomes really put his back on the team. I'm not sure if this is the tackle you're talking about, but I mean, they went an entire season without Tardif because he wanted to fight COVID as a, should not have said that word, Jesus, now YouTube's going to demonetize me. He was battling the pandemic, and he's a doctor, so he took off the whole season. So they were really down 2 to 3 linemen, at least one the entire season, and that's so tough. But I loved what Todd Bowles did, just abandoning the blitz, and he only blitzed, I think it was 5 times, and they had a Super Bowl record of like 29 pressures. It was.
Yeah, no, the Bucs defense they showed up. I mean, they played great. 10 quarterback hits and 3 sacks. 2 interceptions. They haven't played that well this entire season, not at all, not even in the playoffs so far. And they needed to step up because nobody was expecting Tom Brady to have a bad game offensively, and everyone knew the only way that they were going to win the game is to stop Patrick Mahomes and their offense.
No, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's up there as one of Brady's best Super Bowl performances. I mean, obviously you're not going to put it over the Eagles Super Bowl or the Super Bowl 51 with the comeback, but like, no interceptions, 3 touchdowns, 200 yards, and especially this is why this is one of his like most outstanding Super Bowls to me. He came in, dethroned the Chiefs, which is something that in 5 years' time he's gonna be one, if like not the only one, of people to do that in the Super Bowl and the playoffs. But also, he no interception. This was also the largest margin of victory for Tom Brady. Before that, it was 10 points to the Rams, and before that, all the rest are within a score. So that was pretty impressive.
It's ridiculous.
It's insane.
They played so well.
He played unbelievable.
For the Bucs as a whole, they ran the football too. I mean, Leonard Fournette had 89 yards, and Ronald Jones had 61 yards. And Tom Brady, well, first of all, Tom Brady coached this Bucs team the entire season. He was the head coach. So you know that all of these rushes and these plays were like at least 75% credit from Tom Brady. Bruce Arians was just there to sit there and smile and be pretty. So Tom Brady gets even more credit than he should, having 200 yards passing.
And I called it. I said that Ronald Jones would have a decent game. I said he'd be an X factor. That was wrong, but he definitely had a good game. 61 yards, 12 rushes.
He had a good game.
And also, I said it was going to be Ronald Jones, but it ended up being Leonard Fournette. That just like the Patriots, something they utilized all season, but not like he did when he was a Patriot. He was going to use it back to receive a lot, which they did with Leonard Fournette. 46 yards receiving on 4 receptions. That was big. And yeah, Brady just played how he always plays, and he did really good. No doubt about it.
I mean, he only missed 8 throws, which is pretty unheard of, especially for a Super Bowl.
Especially for Brady.
Lenny, like you said. Yeah, playoffs Lenny, like you said, had a day. I mean, he had over 100 yards in receiving and rushing combined. And really, the defense just stopped the Chiefs. It was the whole game. I don't think the Chiefs ever had a chance out of the first quarter, really. They just looked horrible.
No, and this is going to go down as, in my opinion, of watching Super Bowls, because I can't speak for anything under, like, the 40s or 30s in Super Bowls, because I'm only 17. This is going to go down as the second most boring Super Bowl, and it's very close for first, because you could argue that the Rams-Patriots Super Bowl and Super Bowl 53, that it was close the entire game. You were watching to see one team score when it was, 3-3 at halftime. This game, them not allowing a score in the fourth quarter just was such a testament to this defense and how they played. Besides that, their best game was against Aaron Rodgers when Brady threw 3 interceptions and still won the game against Aaron Rodgers, MVP this season. Their defense came out in the playoffs, but in the Super Bowl, that was their peak defense for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it was they shut down. I mean, the Chiefs didn't score a single touchdown. This is the team that everybody thought could have gone on the greatest run in the history of football. They went 14-2 this year with Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill. It was a dynamic duo. They literally couldn't stop them. And then at close to the end of the season playoffs, Travis Kelce comes in playing insane. He didn't have too bad of a game, 133 yards. He was doing all he could. They just couldn't run the ball. But this team, this was an unbeatable team. They only really had one loss because one of them was Patrick Mahomes wasn't even playing in the game. And I think a lot of people are surprised, but it's weird because they shouldn't be. You should not be surprised that Tom Brady is winning another Super Bowl. I think just people did not want it to happen.
I mean, I think the Bucs were prepared for it all season that they'd be playing the Chiefs in the playoffs. I never think that Brady thought the Bills could go all the way. The Browns really shocked everyone by beating the Steelers, even though the Steelers were just so bad the end of the season. But, I mean, the Chiefs were so good that they beat the Browns with a backup quarterback, in the fourth quarter, like Chad Henne. And I was saying how they should have put Chad Henne in because Mahomes was obviously limping. Now, that's no discredit to Mahomes. Mahomes is absolutely incredible. But the thing is, if you're limping around, I mean, he was still making every throw he could. But if you're limping around like that, it's just, I don't know. Chad Henne probably could have done better. And in my opinion, a lot of teams could have done better against the Bucs out of the AFC. I'm not going to say the Bills because the Bills did awful in the AFC Championship. But teams like even the Steelers in the beginning weeks of the season, they could have put up more than 9 points.
Yeah.
The Browns, in my opinion, offensively could have put up more than 9 points, especially with not as much of a game plan from Todd Bowles, because Todd Bowles was ready to abandon the blitz, I believe, all season. They were prepping for this all season.
Yeah, and like what you were saying before about Patrick Mahomes, I argue he had had that same injury in this Super Bowl because he did not look okay. Although he was getting away from those rushers, he really couldn't run the football at all like he normally does. And I know it's because of the turf toe. Now ESPN is reporting that he's going to get surgery tomorrow on the turf toe, which if I'm a Chiefs fan, I'm holding my breath. I mean, it's kind of weird. No one really knows the severity of it, even though it's been there since like the end of the season. So it's kind of weird, almost thinking like it could be bad. But I think that was a factor in this game that he wasn't very mobile, even though it looked like he was because he had to be.
No, yeah, that was all, in my opinion, adrenaline trying to not get sacked. He was running 15 yards behind, throwing at 25, 30 yards out of that. And, I mean, they're saying how that's the injury. I think personally, I mean, God bless him. I hope he does great. I think next season he's going to come out with the biggest chip in NFL history on his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
You can't deny that. It's going to be like, I mean, there's nothing to really compare it to besides Tom Brady's revenge tour when they went to Super Bowl 51. I mean, he was suspended 4 games that season, still had one of his best seasons, only lost 1 game to the Seahawks that year. I firmly believe that Patrick Mahomes is going to win MVP next year unless like Jared Allen comes out amazing or a running back puts up one of the most, probably Derrick Henry, puts up the most historic season of all time over Adrian Peterson.
Don't count out Saquon Barkley.
Shut up. Don't.
He wants it bad. He has one more season. Well, we think. I obviously don't know if he's going to resign, but he has one more season on his contract on the Giants. He wants it bad. He knows he's going to be paid so much money if he has a good season on the Giants to go somewhere else the season after. I'm expecting it. I'm not waiting for it to happen. I'm expecting it, and the Giants are going to the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a really tough thing in that tough of a division, Sarge. That's. I mean, I don't know. They're going to the playoffs. We all know it. Unless the Washington football team gets something together this year. Unless the Eagles come back with.
The Eagles, yeah.
No, they have a good chance.
Eagles are not.
We gotta see what their trade for Carson Wentz is. We gotta see what that is. Because that could make the Eagles. I mean, Carson Wentz was really their downfall. Their receivers not catching balls for the last 2 years. That was their downfall. The Eagles have a chance. Their defense is okay.
What do you think about Jalen Hurts?
I think they should have started him way earlier than they did.
Yeah, I talked about. I think they would have won more games, but I still think it would have been a bad decision to start him early because we all know how it went with Carson Wentz and the relationship that was broken there.
I still think there's
if they were going to do it earlier, they had to be positive. They had to be sure that this was their guy.
I mean, I think the dumbest decision they made this season was putting in, I'm blanking on his name, but their third-string quarterback in that last game when this was Jalen Hurts' moment to have a comeback game, to see what he was made of in clutch time, and then they were just like, nope, we're going to put in Sudfield. That's his name. And
yeah, well, that's why the Giants didn't go to the playoffs, so.
Well, yeah, and I really hope that the Eagles are on the verge of playoffs and need a giant win, and then the Giants just put in their practice team.
Me too.
But no, the Giants is a hot take I like. The Patriots doing something is a hot take that won't happen. That's just my hopes. I mean, whoever gets Deshaun, unless you're in the AFC East, you have a very, very good chance. I'm saying the Dolphins. I mean, that's going to be a battle with the Bills to get into the playoffs. Honestly, Dolphins could make the playoffs with Deshaun, but the Bills would probably still beat them. If he goes to the Jets, there's no way. I mean, yeah, they'll win a couple games. The Patriots might be at the bottom of the division. But if he goes to the Patriots, again, a battle, not as good as the... I'm gonna put away my pride. Not as good as the Dolphins would do with him. But, I mean, any team there, that's just tough. But any team besides that, like, the Jaguars, they'll probably make the playoffs. Like the Bears, that's a playoff team. I actually talk about later in this episode a very, very hot take where I think he'll go. And it's kind of a crazy one that no one is thinking is going to happen. But I mean, the Super Bowl next year, we can talk about that. Who do you think is honestly... and don't you dare say the Giants are going to be in the Super Bowl. I swear to God.
No.
That's like Pat going, the Jets are going to be in the Super Bowl in 3 years or something stupid. He always makes some hot take that sounds smart because he's just so good at arguing. Yeah. But I want to hear who you think is going to be in Super Bowl 56.
No, listen. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I like the Bills next year a lot. I really like what they showed this year. I mean, they really kind of came out of nowhere to me, personally. I didn't see it coming at all. I just really like Josh Allen so much. I think he's definitely a franchise quarterback. I think he'll do great. Obviously, the Chiefs, they won't stop. Patrick Mahomes will be back. That's an obvious. It'd be stupid for me to even say that. Tom Brady's coming back. The Bucks, I don't know if they'll run it back. I don't have a lot of faith that they will. I think Tom Brady's pretty happy where he is now, so he won't be fighting too hard, to prove to Belichick and stuff. But I really like the Bills in the AFC, and I think the NFC is going to be a battle. I think there's a lot of teams in the NFC that are going to be battling. But yeah, and listen, the Bills, and I'm rooting for the Bills. New York team, I have their back if the Giants don't go all the way.
No, I have the Bills back too, even though I'm in that division and I should hate the Bills. The Bills lost 4 Super Bowls in a row. To see them get to the Super Bowl at least would just be amazing. But you wanna throw a name out for an NFC team, or are you just going with that you have no idea? Because I might go on the same boat.
Yeah, I don't want to throw a name out.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no one. Like, there's no one. I mean, it's hard. You can't just say the Packers, because that would just be ridiculous. Like, you can't say that. That wouldn't make any sense, especially knowing like what's going to happen with this team in the future, because I don't think they're going to be good. Personally, they're looking like the Eagles politically falling apart completely. So I don't think you can throw a name out there, and part of it is also because I want to throw the Giants' name out there, because I don't like saying that any other team in the conference is going to make it to the Super Bowl. But I don't really have a front runner. I don't know if you do.
I mean, what you said about the Packers, I'll agree with. I think Aaron Rodgers needs to leave because he's late in his career. He needs to leave. I mean, Pat McAfee always says it, how he could see him in a different jersey with him on the phone, and he's very professional. He's never going to say that, but especially after they drafted a different quarterback in the first round, who was, I think, the first or second first-round quarterback selection to never start or play in a game, really, for the season, because Aaron Rodgers just went off. But, I mean, Aaron Rodgers should leave. I don't agree with one part, the NFC, about the Giants division. I think, honestly, if the Eagles get together, they'll be a force. If the Cowboys play how they should, which they haven't in the last 20 years.
I think the Cowboys will be more of a force than the Eagles, for sure.
No, yeah, I think the Cowboys could totally go all the way. Washington, they get it together. They could do something. And of course the Giants, yes, they could do something. I just didn't want to hear you say it. But
it's just like all every team is so like they have so many like faults to their team. None of them are so solid. Like the Saints have all their faults, the Seahawks have all their faults, the Rams definitely have all their faults. Like there's no team, and that's why it's going to be a battle. It's because there's no big front runners in the conference, and we definitely saw that in the NFC East division this year, for sure. So I'm excited for next year.
And of course, you can never forget about some teams like the Cardinals. I mean, you mentioned it before, the Bucks could totally run it back, but that just seems like for a 44-year-old Tom Brady and old Gronk and everyone on that team's just aging. Unless their offense gets significantly better, it's going to be tough to root for them. I never root against Brady. I hope Brady wins 7 more of them, but that'd be amazing. But out of the AFC, a lot of people aren't going to agree with me. But I wrote it. I have an article. You can go read it. I said that the Browns were going to be amazing without Odell. Odell's coming back.
Oh, I agree.
Odell.
I completely agree.
But sorry.
Go ahead.
No one said everyone said Odell got injured. They're out of the playoffs. They made the playoffs, and they even made it to the second round. I said that they were going to do that back in September or October, where they lost Odell. This year they have Odell coming back. I think Odell's going to come back with a fire. I mean, the Bucks, the Chiefs, I think are going to be, some people are saying, is this the end of the dynasty? I don't think it's the end of the dynasty, but I think they need a year or two to get their stuff back together. I mean, it's tough to come back from a Super Bowl loss. I feel like they have more to lose than they would have if they won another one. They had to go for a three-peat. Now, they're going for the dynasty. They're going for the legacy of winning 2 out of 3 years. So I think that's going to be tough. The Bills, I mean, they're always just so tough. If it's not the Browns, it's the Bills or Chiefs for me. I'm putting out a bold take. I think the Browns are going to the Super Bowl next year.
The Browns are going to the Super Bowl. Really? Okay.
That's my bold take.
Is just amazing.
It's not that bold because they have so many offensive weapons. They could really go toe-to-toe with any team in a shootout. Most teams in a shootout. But as we saw in a lot of games. But their defense needs help. Their defense needs work. Myles Garrett, I mean, he went from the most hated player in one of the most hated players in NFL history to a Walter Payton Man of the Year candidate. So everyone's back on good terms with Myles. And I think their division's going to be odd because the Ravens choked again. Ravens need to get it together. The Steelers, I have no hope for that team. I hope Juju has to go to like the CFL, if I'm being honest. I don't like Juju. And the Browns are in it, and then the Bengals. I mean, come on.
Can we just get a quick shout out, Sean Newcomb?
I was about to shout him out, Sean.
I have a message from Sean to you. You're short.
He said that about me?
Yeah, I had to get it right back in your face. Shout out Sean Newcomb.
I don't want to hear it. He doesn't have eyebrows. No, I love Sean, but I mean, I also hate him at the same time. He makes the dumbest takes. He said that my predictions, because I'm amazing at predicting. He goes, well, you probably have a million bad ones. I don't have that many bad ones. So Browns are making the Super Bowl next year, Sean.
The Super Bowl next year.
Hey, that's subject to change. I have until like September to change that. But right now, I think the Browns are gonna make it. And then in the NFC side, again, like you said, that's very tough. I think the Packers could do it because Aaron Rodgers is going to have even more of a chip on his shoulder this year because, they lost to Brady, who played awful. And, of course, you can't count out the Bucs running it back. And, of course, this is going to be a weird one. I'm not going to say a certain team that's going to make it out of the NFC because that's too tough. But the Saints could always get a quarterback.
Yeah, they always could.
Jameis Winston could come back after being mentored by Breeze. Because I don't think Breeze is going to come back this season. He hasn't announced anything yet, but he's not coming back. So
I don't know. I think he might.
I hope he doesn't.
Have a half season to mentor. We'll see.
Yeah, and I made it later in the video. I talk about who's going to go to the Saints. I talk about the Goff trade like we were talking about. So the Rams with Stafford, this is going to be one of the best teams he's ever played with. Don't count out the Rams. Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, who should not have... No, he should have won Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know where I was going with that. But, so it's going to be Browns versus anybody in the NFC, if we're being honest. Like, there's not the worst team in the NFC is still, like, not that bad in the AFC. Like, it's insane. Like, your division, the Giants division, did so awful, and one of them made the playoffs still. Like, watch it be Browns-Washington. I'm kidding. That would be awful.
That would be insane. That would be ridiculous.
That'd probably be a good game. That'd probably be a better game than this year.
I don't even know who's the quarterback for Washington. We probably won't even heard of right now.
I hope.
It'll be some new guy that we never heard of.
I almost forgot to say it. If the Saints... I didn't bring this up later, because I brought up an actual person I want to see go to the Saints. If the Saints get Heineke, or if the Patriots get Heineke, they're going to the Super Bowl. Just saying it.
That is ridiculous.
I'm kidding. I'm totally joking. I just love Heineke, and he deserves to have a shot on some team. And if the Jaguars don't draft a quarterback, which is a very heated discussion between their front office right now, they should get Heineke as their quarterback. Minshew's not doing much. Heineke 2024. I just love him. So I'm gonna get his jersey. But Sarge, if you want to leave it off on anything, you can say whatever you want, you can plug whatever you want. And this is your time to shine.
No, listen, Shaney Show 2021 gonna be big. I'm watching every episode. Whoever's listening right now, also watch every episode first, and then go to Sellout Sports and listen to the podcast and follow us on Instagram. And last thing I want to say is say quads only. New York Giants are winning the Super Bowl in 2022, I guess. All my New Jersey, New York Giants fans out here, we got this. Let's go.
And then I'll say something really quick. Sean Newcomb, you're short and don't have eyebrows, and and you're not even the best. You're not even the best player on your JV squad of hockey. I love you, Sean. I'm not even gonna lie. Like Sean's becoming one of my favorites at Sellout Sports. It's so funny. But go check out Sellout Sports. It was a pleasure having you on, and thank you for your Super Bowl prediction. Go Browns.